Hello, everyone, and welcome to Twillow Talk. I'm Tana Scoggin from the Twillow Lifestyle Community, Twillow Lifestyle Academy, and I am joined by my beautiful co-host, Jennifer Tchaikovsky. Hey, Jen.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going.
How's everybody doing?
How's everyone in the audience today? We have we have Kaylee. Hey, Kaylee. You listened to our April readings. That's awesome. Thank you.
Yay.
You'll find a little snippet of that on here on YouTube, I should say. And the rest is on our membership page, which is a free membership right now. So you just sign up and you can take a look at the longer version of our collective readings.
Right.
So,
and it's pretty long. We do
it is
11 decks each. So
yeah, 22 decks you get on the membership site. So plus all sorts of other awesome stuff. And so, yeah, which is what we do. We just do stuff. We didn't do that when we first started, but you guys probably know who we do. We don't, we do stuff. So we just want to say a big shout out to Jackie. Hey, Jackie, thanks for joining us. Great to see you. I see you're off on a break, which is awesome. You're off for spring break. Enjoy. Please take some of that R&R. It's well deserved. And Kaylee's parents are home, so she is happy about that, having a nice Easter dinner by the sounds of things. Thanksgiving, I'm stuck way back in October.
We can be thankful for in Easter too.
Yes, same sort of meal, right? Often we get turkey or, ham or whatever on both. So anyway, so yes, so it's been quite a week. Quite a weekend, even in and of itself.
Right.
Yeah. So let's take a look at the Schumann, because it's interesting for the last couple of days. And then we'll take a look at the solar flares and all that fun stuff. Here we are. Add that to the stage. Here we go. So you see here, this is what we had on, what would that be, Saturday. We had quite a few big jumps. So this is the Schumann. That was up to in the 60s there over the weekend. And then we've got this one in here. That would have been yesterday. And today we have fairly normal. So this is why when you were saying that you felt relatively normal for once, that would be why. Our Schumann is fairly stable. Today is right in this area here, so you'll notice there's no great huge white spots or anything adding to our vibrational agitation, shall we say. When we have this, this is last month's. Let me see here. I'm looking for this month's connection. Yeah, see, this is today. It's all 8 amplitude, which is totally normal, pretty normal. It's 7.8 hertz, so that's very, close to that. When we look here, you can see the big jumps over the month. I wish I could make this bigger, but it doesn't seem to. It jumps to the other months. So when we look here, we've got March 31st. This is the 29th and 30th. So everybody was probably feeling pretty buzzed on those days. You can see that today is more like this. It's off here, but you can see it here. It's more like that. So in terms of the Schumann, we are at a comfortable level. Over the weekend, we had some larger spikes here. We've got some M7. We had an M9 as well, I believe, right there on Saturday. So we had 2 M class, one right after the other on Saturday. And then we had 1 M class today, which is right there. It was an M.3. Okay. So those are going to contribute to some of these higher levels that we had. So this may affect us a little later on. Takes a couple of hours to get here, so it may affect us a little later on with the Schumann. I feel like a weather forecaster, but it is the solar weather. So yes.
And then we
So
have this storm rolling in. It's gonna
we
come.
have a storm rolling in.
Well, and we do. And you think about it, like our show next time is actually going to be on the 8th in the midst of
Yes.
the, the solar eclipse, a comet coming through, right?
Oh yeah.
A bunch of energies that are going to be happening. So yeah, we're going to have a lot of forecasting going on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's see here. I know you guys are making me hungry though. You're talking about pizza and shrimp and here we go. Pizza. And we had shrimp, risotto, and asparagus. That's awesome because I was saying
Wow.
ham and chicken, so those are nice.
Nice.
Nice. And a big hello to Sonia. Hello. And Rossi. Welcome. It's good to see you. I'm not the only one they're making hungry by the looks of it. Sonia's getting hungry with that as well. And, thank you. Kaylee's already booked off Monday. Not risking it. Yeah. So you guys are going to have to be real patient with us next week.
Yeah.
Because that brings all sorts of stuff, right? Because we're also going to be we're going to be into some other transits that are going to be bringing stuff in too, right? Because we have a Mercury retrograde or something coming up also.
Oh yeah, that's coming too. There's a whole bunch. So when we get into it next week, we'll do a full forecast on what that looks like and all of that for sure. It's really interesting though. I saw a thing and I haven't fact checked it, but that was saying that all of the planets are also going to be visible and pretty much in line with us from the sun. So obviously we're not going to be going out to look for this.
No. If you do go out that day, please wear your special glasses for the solar eclipse. Sunglasses are not enough.
But once it's nighttime and stuff like that, we might be able to also see that. But that alignment doesn't happen very often, right? Where we're able to actually see all of them and that they line up in an arc through the sky. So it's a really neat time of a lot of things coming together. And it's cool. Really interesting when we talk about the energies that we're in right now that are kind of getting us in position for that. Right?
I'm laughing because Kaylee's saying today, I think, actually, for the retrograde. And Jackie's like, shh.
I love it.
If we don't talk about it, it doesn't happen. Okay.
Yeah. If we just pretend it doesn't exist, we're good to go. Well, yeah. I mean, you think about where we're at and what's coming up. So we're going right now, we are in the 21st transit gate for the human design side of things. And this is, we're in the middle of it. So we went in on the cusp between the 29th, 30th, and we'll be here until the 4th. And this is really in willpower and authority, right? So the energy of this one is biting through. Is kind of the idea here when we look at it from the I Ching. It's the hunter-huntress energy as an archetype. And what's really, really interesting about this energy, it's in the I Ching, they're also all, if I show you here, I don't really talk about the hexagrams here, but basically it's fire over thunder. So if you think about that energy, right, and what that means, and the idea here is also embracing the noble life. Well, what do we need to do in order to do that, right? And so the energy around this is about taking control in a sense. But when we look at the shadow aspect of control here, we're looking at that downfall that can come when we try to put a hierarchy on things or when we try to take control. Right. And that kind of interference that comes in when we get caught up in that energy. Right. And so the idea here is, the more we feel like we need to be connected to that strength, the more we feel like we're hitting walls and things are really hard. right? And it's interesting when we talk about like the human design and where it's coming from. This is part of the heart center, which is like the ego center or the will center, right? So this is about our motivation to do and what pushes us forward, and it's connected the channel to the throat, right? And so it really is about taking that action, and sometimes we do have to take action, right? So in the I Ching side of this, it's this justified and necessary use of power, right, to overcome persistent interference. But how do we do that in a way that actually is going to be within flow, right? So the energy with this, when we talk about like victim energy that comes with the shadow, is this need to be in control, right? And so you
None of
might
us know anything about that, do
not at
we?
all, not even a little bit, right? And so sometimes, you know, what we end up doing is there's kind of the repressive side of this energy that is when we get submissive, right? It's that fawn state that we can find ourselves in. It's just like, it's okay, whatever, whatever, right? Or on the reactive side of it, we can go into being really controlling and everything has to be a certain way, right? So if you find yourself kind of going into either of those energies, notice what's coming up for you, notice what's happening, and maybe take a step back, because the gift side of this is about being able to move into the authority of submission, right? That's the idea of being, you know, in this position of authority because you've earned it, because people want to listen to what you have to say, or they want to be able to help move forward. And this is very much a collective energy, right? It's about being able to look at what is good overall, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which can be really hard when we're triggered or when shit's happening, all that kind of stuff, right?
It's not usually a time we're looking at the big picture.
No. And if we're, you know, moving between this, like, screw it, I don't care, walking away, kind of submissive, whatever, or like really caught up in control, in neither of those places are we really recognizing the power of that authority and what that looks like in our lives, right? And then the siddhi that goes with this, that kind of higher kind of way of being with it, is really about, Richard talks about it in this idea of like the new age of chivalry, right? It's this idea to really surrender and break away from power in order to move into this place of being able to speak our truth and to hold firm to it, but doing that in the sense of what that means for the greater good, right? That's hard.
Yeah.
That's really hard when we're struggling with our stuff, right?
Definitely.
But
Yeah.
as we're moving between these energies, right? Like we went from, you know, the lunar eclipse, which is all about going in and working on our stuff and what that means. And then we're moving to the solar eclipse, which is going to bring our internal, external, right? This whole process of letting go is huge and hugely important, because if we don't pay attention to what's going on inside of ourselves during this time, the moment that all of our stuff gets brought out, it's going to be hard. Right?
And yet it's happened to all of us.
Right. So, you know, when we look at this energy for the next 2 days as we continue with it, really looking at what am I being asked to let go of control with?
Mm-hmm.
Right? What do I need to take a step back from, reassess, and then notice, right? Do I need to stand up for myself against a challenging energy that's coming? And can I do that with an open heart?
Yeah.
Right? It's not that we go into just that submissive side and we don't do anything, right? There's energy here to actually take that stand, but how we do it is really, really important, right? So one of the things that Richard talks about, and it's like, don't be afraid to wield your sword in the name of love, right? Really being able to recognize, you know, when we take that stand, what that means, right? And why we're doing it. Am I doing it because I need to be in control here, or am I doing it because it's serving the greater good.
Mm-hmm. And we're all connected, guys. So the greater good means including us.
Mm-hmm.
So apparently we're going on a road trip. I just have to mention that because we had Sonia's taking us to the grocery store.
Oh, awesome.
So we're going on a road trip.
Well, this is great because this is great energy for travelers when we talk about traveling into the beyond and what that means. Richard actually talks about that, and the idea that, you know, it takes valor, which is the siddhi for this, in order to be able to, as you were, die with an open heart, right? What it is to really transcend and what that means, of letting go of our attachments and what we think we are and all of that, to be able to really merge with what is oneness. And
Mm-hmm.
man, that takes a lot of love and a lot of courage.
It does. Big hello to Sharon. Thank you for joining us
Hey,
and sharing our
Sharon.
information
Oh, thank you.
in the comments. That's wonderful. Thank you so much. Let's put that up there.
Yay.
Awesome. Ooh, Rossi's on the road too.
Ooh, lots of traveling.
It is a road trip day. Exciting. So here's a question for you guys. If you could travel anywhere, money was no object, where would you go?
Now, okay, hold on. Because my mind immediately goes to, are we talking in 3D this time and space, or are we Doctor Whoing it with any time and any space?
I'd say that's wherever they want to go.
Okay.
They can do either. Yeah, maybe they want to go to a past life.
That would be an interesting one.
On Earth, Iceland, or New Zealand. Fun.
Mm-hmm.
Those are very different climates, depending on the time of year, I guess. Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool.
It was interesting. I was actually just talking to Reagan about going to Iceland, and we were doing some astrocartography and kind of mapping out what the energy would be like for us there.
Oh, cool. Do you do that in human design?
No, I use just, it's just astrology that you would do it in. Cool. But it was interesting. Like, we were even doing, you know, the astrocartography for where we are now and for this very, like, where we live, right, and how that energy shifted and you know what it has brought out for us and stuff like that. So it's such a neat thing to be able to really to look at.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So Jackie, why Virginia? Or is that too personal? If it's too personal, don't answer. But why Virginia? And Canada. Yay, she's going to come visit us.
Woohoo! Well, but as long as it's this part of Canada. But I mean, Canada in general is pretty awesome.
It is pretty awesome, yeah. There are some nicer spots. But...
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And Sharon, I do hope you feel better.
Yeah, for sure.
You're feeling too good.
Sending healing vibes.
Mm-hmm, definitely. Yeah. Ooh.
Oh, to see Scott, of course. Yes, he's in Virginia. Awesome.
Very cool. And then we've got a Switzerland and Norway.
Hey, Tristan.
That's
nice to have you. Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us. Yeah, that would be very cool too.
Wonderful.
Very cool.
Oh, Kaylee wants to go to one of her ET lives.
Ooh.
I think I might like to do that too.
Just make sure you pick one of the ones that weren't at war.
Yeah, let's not do that.
That might be a hard one to go back to.
I know that's a hard one. Yeah, for sure. Sonia wants to visit her family in Norway. Awesome.
Very cool.
Yeah, I don't think we want to go back to that Lyran lifetime.
Nah.
Yeah, no. Sending healing vibes to Sharon.
Mm-hmm. Very cool.
Me, it's Egypt. Egypt and Greece. I think it is past life related, but
Egypt for sure. Well, Greece probably too.
I think Greece too. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We might have to go together because I think we have lives in both of
Yeah,
those places together.
we've talked about that one. It's definitely
Yeah.
on our list of places that we would like to go.
It is. It is. And we have to take Ramsey with us to Egypt.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
You
For
guys
sure.
all know Egypt.
Mm-hmm. When I was
Greece.
young, very young, my grandmother went on a cruise of the Mediterranean, and she told me about it. And from the moment she told me about it, I lit up. And I
Yeah.
thought, that is exactly what I want to do. Now, I've never been on a cruise. It's not something I do, but just the places that she went for that as she toured around the Mediterranean. And I thought, there's such a connection there. I would
Mm-hmm.
love to see all of those places.
I think a Mediterranean cruise would be perfect.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that whenever somebody says, where would you want to go? That's always the first thing that comes to mind for me, only because it's been that since I was a child.
Yeah. Yeah. Me too. I think the first time I heard of Greece, I was like 4. And I was just, all I heard was the name. And I was like, oh, really? So obviously there's something going on there.
Yeah.
So I think we might need to take a plane or a boat rather than just a bus.
I mean, you could take a bus to the plane.
We could take a bus to the plane and then a plane and then maybe another bus.
No, the plane to the bus to the boat. Oh my goodness.
Or else he has multiple lives in Egypt. Yeah, us too. Yeah, Jen and I were, what were we, high priestesses in a couple of different,
at least.
We were in a couple of different temples, I think,
as
well. Anubis for me. And,
Anubis was an interesting one.
Yeah, we can't talk about that on air. And then we had Sekhmet.
Yeah.
The Sekhmet temple. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But a group tour to Egypt would be an amazing thing to do.
Absolutely. Together. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
There's a few of us here by the looks of it.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, if we're over there when we're doing the cruise, we'll hit Greece too, and
you could do that. Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my. Yeah. It was an interesting one. Mm-hmm.
Like Jackie's little emoji there. I love it. I love it.
It's fascinating, the memories that come back out of certain lifetimes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how that works, and how does that,
it's
how do you notice the energies, right? I mean, it's,
mm-hmm.
So for you guys, where have you been in your past lives? What do you know about your past lives? I think that's our topic for today, past lives. Do you want to talk about past lives today, or do we want to pick a card?
I'm sure if we picked one, it would be in line.
It would probably be past lives because that's what's come up.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if this deck has anything on past lives. What would be interesting maybe is to see, it got shuffled. Sorry, we played with the cards over the weekend, so we might end up with some repeats.
That's okay.
But it might also be, because there's so many, right? And maybe a particular issue within a past life that we would want to look at or talk about.
Ooh, fun. That's a great family tradition.
Oh, nice.
I hear it's beautiful there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, this is an interesting card. Am I clear on what my soul really wants?
Oh, that is interesting. Well, it is kind of related, isn't it?
Oh, most definitely, because we've gone through all of these lives for a reason, right?
Exactly.
In our soul's journey. So am I clear about what my soul really wants? And as we explore maybe even some of these previous experiences, I mean, this is where we talk about like karma and things like that. Like, what have we come through? What are we seeking? What is, what are some of the things that we're meant to do, to reconcile, to learn, to build, right? What does that look like for us in this lifetime?
Exactly.
And I love this. Take out the shoulds and the limitations. which is beautiful with your initial question. If you had no limitation, where would you go?
That's right.
Get out of your head and pay attention to your heart's desires instead. If you knew it was impossible to fail, what would you do? Where would you go? And wherever you go with your heart. So again,
we can't make this stuff up, guys. We just can't. She shuffled and picked it out.
Yeah. So today's soul action is ask yourself, what is it that your soul really wants? What does your heart crave? Then take one step in that direction. So
beautiful. That's awesome. The reason I asked that question is because oftentimes, so this is, it's sort of responding to Jackie here. She hasn't looked into her past lives, but oftentimes, if there's somewhere that's on our bucket list, we've had some past lives there, at least one. So here is, so these are some of the ones that Kaylee's had. Mayan Incan.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. North American Aboriginal. London. 16 to 1700s in the US. ET, multiple, yes. Definitely Pleiades and Lyran. Yeah, I'm sure there's more there too, for sure. So some of us are very old souls. Some of us travel this route together. That was tricky, by the way, just so to get the finger pointing the correct way for the screen.
I love it.
I'm mirrored. So
so if I do this, I'm pointing the wrong way?
Yes.
What if I just do this?
Who else do you have with you?
Well, I mean, we could go into that, but
there's all sorts of people around you, I'm sure.
Yeah, there always are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Indeed. None have overlapped time-wise. So there's an interesting thing, because I think it can, right? Because there isn't any...
It's not linear like we
think
it is.
Exactly. It's not like it has to be linear. That's our brain that does that. So yes.
Well, and it's interesting too, because the more we try to fit it into the box that the mind has for us, the more limiting it is and the more we actually miss.
Yeah. It's true, because there's not even just timelines. There's past lives, there's timelines, there's dimensionals, and all of that stuff all mixed in. So it's quite a fascinating little thing to dip your toe in if you haven't done so. Jen and I both do work with that sort of thing. And check in with Gerald. He is awesome for Akashic Records, which is, he's with the Tarot Stash.
Where'd you go there?
I'm being drawn to all these beautiful places that are on Ross's list. France, Italy, Egypt. Whew. Awesome. And Asia too.
Nice. Very cool.
Welcome. Welcome,
Yay!
Rebecca.
Thanks for joining us.
The Spark Notes. We are talking about where we would love to travel and what that has to do with our past lives and what our soul needs, right?
Yes.
Would you like to show the card?
So the card that we have for this one is, am I clear on what my soul really wants? So really kind of exploring where we're at and releasing all of the shoulds, because you know how that's what we do, right? We get caught up in all the shoulds.
Oh, we should ourselves to death.
Do this. Well, maybe I should do that, right? But we don't ever, take that step back and go, okay, let's move these shoulds, let's move these limitations out of the way. What does my heart really want? What truly resonates for me in this moment, and how do I move towards that?
Exactly. So an example that comes to mind for the past life thing where it's not linear. So this was fascinating. So I have, being witchy as I am, I had a past life, and it was during the witch trials. And I knew that piece early on. And then I ended up with this vision where, for me, it comes back in visions depending on what I'm doing. And so I had this memory of I could see myself sitting as a witch being tried and as a judge. I was a bishop playing a judge in the trial. And it was at the same time in my vision. And so I was like, ooh, I have to wrap my head around that one. That was a big one because I had to realize, like, that's just part of that. You know, we always play both sides, right? We have to get to know what it's like on either side. So it was just such a huge way to see that play together in terms of the karmic stuff. So, yeah, I don't know if that was what happened.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's what I was, if I was in both in the same time at the same place, or whether I was, they may have been showing me two scenarios, but showing me in the same vision so that I would understand that you play both roles. I'm not sure on that.
Yeah. Well, and that's a really
But
interesting like place to go too, right? Like when we talk about this idea of roles that we play, and we've talked about this a little bit before on the show, but you know, sometimes we are so afraid to be the bad guy,
Yeah.
right? That we don't really step into what is meant for us, right? And that's really in line with the energy that we have right now about that. Sometimes we have to wield the sword in love, right? Like, what does that actually mean?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we do take on different roles for different people in many lifetimes in different ways in order to help move each other in different directions.
Yeah.
Right? So being able to explore that, as you moving you, it almost helps to take the blame away, like we can do,
Yeah.
right? Because all of a sudden you're like, well, they're both me. What do I do with this energy?
Well, it's fascinating because, you start to see really, it takes us a long way in realizing how we each have that beautiful love inside of us, right? No matter what you do, that what you're doing is just an action. It doesn't take away from that divine spark that is in everyone. And so I thought it was fascinating. It took me a long way to being very sort of, I guess, more accepting of people no matter what they've done. You know what I mean? And so in a strange way, it was a really important vision for me, and yet it was like tough to wrap my head around
Yeah.
in terms of that.
Yeah.
So it looks like yeah. So Kaylee's had a similar. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and sometimes when we do that, if we're doing that in a past life, so when I take people on a past life journey, they're seeing themselves almost like third person. And so you can have that kind of a situation where you're there viewing it from a different perspective because you're not there. Do you know what I mean? We're going back to look. So, and oftentimes I think dreams are like that because we're astral traveling there to see, oh, okay, what did I do there? What did I do there for a fact-finding mission, right?
Yeah.
So I think sometimes that's what happens.
Well, and sometimes it's, before we leave, we observe what we're leaving.
Yeah.
Right. So stepping out once, the body
Right.
is no longer needed. And then we look at the body and go, oh, okay, that was interesting. That was an interesting experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Too hard on myself instead of loving myself, aren't we all? Like how you said.
We're all very good at that, aren't we?
Yeah. I feel like I should have completed school. Yeah, for vet tech. Yeah. Well, it's, and it's easy to beat ourselves up for things. With
Yeah.
those shoulds in place, it's like, well, I should have done this and I should have done that. And,
Yeah.
we don't always know that, right? It's so funny. We talk about, we do cards and we do all of these things. And sometimes there is some knowing about what is to come, but ultimately, like, we don't have a crystal ball that gives us exactly, right? Even when we do all of these things, it's very much this is a possibility if, right? And we recognize that. And yet, when we talk about looking backwards, it's, hindsight's 2020.
Of
Well, we
course.
know we've got it all figured out. But then what we don't understand or what we don't recognize is we look back at something and go, well, if I had done it differently, it would have gone like this. We
But we
have
don't know that.
no idea that that's actually how it would have unfolded.
Yeah.
Right? But we think we know because we have this idea that hindsight is perfect, and we can look back and go, oh, well, if I had done this, then that would have happened, and then I wouldn't have had to do this, and then that would have happened. But we don't, right? And
We
so the
don't
more
know.
that we're able to release that narrative, the freer it is, because now we can move forward and we don't have to reevaluate all of the things that we've done.
Yeah.
Right? We are where we are for a reason.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And there's some learning there, and there's some beautiful takeaways from whatever happens to us, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, this is what I was referring to, Kaylee. You can love the soul, but not the human, so to speak. Like a parent saying, I don't love what you're doing, but I still love you.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a good lesson in there. And welcome, Twisted Sushi. Great to have you. Thanks for joining us. And we've got, what else have we got going on here? Mm-hmm. Yes, so Rebecca agrees with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can grieve that maybe or that should. I've found feeling free instead of holding on to the anger works towards it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the piece, right? Because the more that we have a should, the more limitation we put on ourselves.
Yeah.
Right. And if we, we've talked about this before about living in the present versus reliving the past all of the time or trying to project ourselves into the future. And as long as we're holding on to those shoulds, we're limiting all of it.
Yeah.
Right. And we're limiting our ability, even our memories are limited in those moments, because instead of looking at all of the possibilities of what could have come from that experience, all the learning that we've gained from having it, all of the understanding, recognizing that we can accept ourselves for it, even if we can look back and go, man, I don't know if that was a great decision.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We can look at all of this potential good that can come from, even mistakes that we have made. But if we stay in the shoulds, we don't open ourselves to that. And we don't gain from these experiences what we're meant to gain from them.
Yeah. Well, and we have to remember that, those things that we think are mistakes may not be.
Well, that's the whole point. But as long as we hold them in our mind as a mistake, we've limited it.
Yeah,
and we
it's
do
all
that because we've
perspective.
should it ourselves.
Yeah, exactly. It's all perspective, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah. Let go in a sense. Mm-hmm.
yeah, I like to know things are the way they are, like why they're happening the way they are. The unknown is scary. Yeah,
It is.
it can be. But, in some ways, when you start to be able to practice that and you get used to going with the flow and being in the present moment, that's the thing I think that we have the hardest issue with doing as humans. It's like right now, right here, right now. Am I safe right here, right now? Yep. Yep. I'm safe right here, right now. Doesn't matter what has happened, and we don't know what's coming. So right in this present moment, I am safe.
And if you're not, that's a different story, obviously.
Obviously, yes.
With that.
Especially those of you that are on the road, please be careful.
Yeah. but yeah. Yeah. But this idea of letting go, in a sense, I think it's important to look at this and go, what am I actually holding on to?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
It's just a perspective usually, right?
Mm-hmm. Right? I'm holding on to, it's funny. I remember reading at one point, this idea that, we can look at a memory, and apart from that memory, there's very little that can show that it existed the way that we remember it to be.
Yeah, it's true.
right? So we look at this and we go, okay, I lived this experience and I'm holding on to something about this experience, but what am I actually holding on to? Right? Am I holding on to a belief that I can bring this back into my reality? Am I holding on to a belief that I don't want this in my reality at all? Right? Like, what is it about the thing that makes letting go so scary?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You know, and we talk about unknown, and I love this, right? Because we think we know so much.
We have
And
no
we
idea what we don't know.
know. No. Right? We
No.
don't know what we don't know, and we don't know what we think we do know most of the time,
Yeah, most of the time.
right? Because the reality is everything that is and can be known is changing,
Yeah.
right? So what we know at any given moment can change,
Mm-hmm.
and we're changing. So our perceptions of what we know also change.
And we jump timelines very easily.
Mhm.
So our perception or memory of something could be from a different timeline than where we are, even.
Mhm.
Right?
Yeah. Well, and when you think about it, and I love the Tao, and I know I've quoted it so many times on the show, right? But this idea that knowing is a disease, right? But not knowing is true knowledge. And the idea with that is that the more that we think we know, the more limited we are,
Yeah.
right? Because now we're not open to things being anything other than what we know them to be,
Yeah. It's true.
right?
Well, I think Rebecca, this is a lot of people have this, when we weren't in control during trauma, and so absolutely, if there's anything we can't control, we think it's scary, because last time we couldn't, it was painful, whether
Mm-hmm.
physically or emotionally or whatever the case, right?
Yeah. And it is scary in the sense that you know, we think we have control now, so we hold on to it so strongly, right? And when there are things like trauma and stuff like that, it is important to work through that and release what is there and not hold on to it, because what ends up happening is we end up reliving the trauma, right? We
Yeah.
identify with it, it becomes part of who we are, and we end up living in it, as opposed to staying in that place of coming out of it and
Hmm.
recognizing our resilience and our versatility and our strength and our ability to move forward, right? But as long as we're stuck in it and we're continually reliving it, we're also re-traumatizing ourselves.
Yeah.
And that's a really hard thing sometimes to come to understand, because we don't want to do that to ourselves. We've already been there. We've already done that.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So, again, this is where, talking to somebody professionally and having that support to be able to walk with you as you navigate that can be really valuable,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah, definitely. That's where you get people like Jen, who's a psychotherapist. And we have Facebook user. It is Mark, saying letting go of what we believe was our reality at the time is scary for people, because it can
Mhm.
then change what we think or feel now.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Hmm. Yeah.
Kaylee's giving you kudos. Absolutely. She's awesome.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
yeah, for
and
sure.
yeah, Mark, you're bang on there. I mean, this idea of, identifying with our history, which is a very normal human thing to do,
Hmm.
right? But as we identify with that and we think that that's who we are, the idea of being anything else is scary, right? We don't
Yeah,
even know how to be something other than what we think we are based on those experiences.
that's right. And then, every day we learn something new and we change. And
Hmm.
as we do that, it changes who we are. And
Hmm.
so that happens to us every day, just that when we look in the past, we've had a longer time to settle into what we think that means for us.
Yeah. And it's really easy to revert to those patterns, right? So even if we experience something new or learn something new, we often will just, without thinking about it, go right back to what we knew before, right? And so it takes mindfulness. It takes observing and being aware of what's going on and going, yeah, I get that, but I want to do something different.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to do something different.
And it's okay to do something different.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter what we've done in the past. We can be different if we just give ourselves permission, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. You're releasing, Rebecca.
Oh, yeah. Tears are so powerful. We
Yeah,
shy away from emotions, and I know we talk about this a lot too, but they're such an important part of our experience, right? Because they're messengers. And so
absolutely.
when we have the ability to release in that way, it is a beautiful, beautiful thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. And the reality is people let us down. We let ourselves down. We let each other down.
We probably let ourselves down more than other people let us down, to be honest. I mean, let's
Right?
see.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And so this is where, like, we've talked about the Ho'oponopono on the show before too, and I know you use it quite often
absolutely.
in your practice as well.
I
And
do.
to be able to step back and go, yeah, you know what? There were times where I was really mean to myself, where I judged myself, where I, thought poorly of myself, where I let somebody else take the reins and tell me who I am or what I'm supposed to be, where
Yeah,
I put trust in somebody, and that was not a well-placed trust. And now I'm mad at myself for doing that, right?
yeah,
And we project, and it's really easy to go, well, I'm mad at them, they broke my trust. But ultimately, when we really get down to it, we're mad at ourselves, right? For putting ourselves out there. And it's a beautiful thing to put yourself out there, right? So to be able to do something to help bring that forgiveness home to yourself is a beautiful, powerful thing. You want to? I know we each do
yeah,
the Ho'oponopono slightly differently. I do the
yeah.
traditional version, and you've added and all to it.
Yeah, well, the add-in stuff is for the mirror work too, right?
Yeah.
So the traditional one is great, and then when we do the mirror, I add in "you are worthy" and "you are enough," because
Mhm.
that's one that so many people struggle with, is we don't feel worthy because somebody's told us we weren't enough in one way or another, right?
Mhm.
Oh, oh dear. I'm
Well,
sorry to hear that. An iguana almost unalived itself.
oh no. Well, I'm glad it was an almost.
Yes,
Poor iguana's probably quite scared,
I'm sure it
but
is.
I'm glad that it was an almost.
Yes, yes.
Aww. Mhm.
Definitely felt that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, well, thank you so
My
much for
pleasure.
joining
Thanks for
us.
joining us. Yeah. Sending you tons of love.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. And I use the Ho'oponopono a lot with past life stuff too. We were talking about that, the past life
Mhm.
stuff as well. And there's things that we do in our past lives that we might not be all that proud of, you know, because
Mhm.
we were in a situation and we had to do something specific, and lots of hearts. And we made the best decision for where we were at the time, and of course past life. So it's not like we can change that stuff, right?
Mhm.
So we just need to forgive ourselves for it, or forgive the situation. And I find that what's great about the Ho'oponopono is it just helps us to release the energy that we're holding with that. And when
Yeah.
we can release the energy, it helps us to release the thought patterns a little bit more, right?
Yeah, it's a beautiful practice in that way. Just of coming home to ourselves and making space for that and being able to hold ourselves as we go through it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, do we have another question for them?
Another question?
Mm-hmm. Let's just ask them a question.
Oh, so,
Have you ever used the Ho'oponopono?
sure.
Who's used the Ho'oponopono? I know some of you have.
Oh.
If you've seen us, both of us use it in our practice, so some of you. I know I certainly have. That was certainly a big thing for me to use when I first started. The thing about it was always like people would say, just let it go. Just forgive them, let it go. Like, don't worry about it. The forgiveness is about letting it go for us. It's not really about them. And I never knew how to do that. And I would think, well, you're telling me to do this. I don't know how. How do I do that? Right? So when I found the Ho'oponopono, it was amazing because I was actually able to, I had a tool to use it, which is awesome.
Well, and it's so interesting, right? Like the idea
So,
of forgiveness for a lot of people is really triggering,
awesome.
right?
Yes.
And so when we look at it and we go, well, I don't want to forgive them. It's like, okay, well, what is forgiveness to you?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because if you're associating forgiveness with this idea of letting them off the hook or, not holding them responsible or like all of these things that have to do with the other person,
Mm-hmm.
then you're not embracing forgiveness for all that it truly is.
Yeah.
Right?
It's always for us. It's not for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah. Brain shift. Not having forgiveness from the person, but forgiveness for self.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because we don't have control over other people. I mean, how many times have people done stuff to you and they haven't forgiven you? Well, it's not really their
it has nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with me if somebody doesn't forgive me.
Exactly. It's about me releasing it, not about them offering it to me. Right?
And it has nothing to do with them if I don't forgive somebody else.
Yeah.
Right? Somebody might do something, and you see this often, with somebody, cutting you off in traffic or something like that, right? And this
Or
idea,
cutting the tie.
oh, well, that's a whole other thing.
Cord
But this
cutting.
idea of like, how often, do people who maybe struggle with road rage or things like that, how often do they then hold that energy all day and have it impact them all day, right? And in that moment, it's not about forgiving the person who cut you off. It's about forgiving yourself for ruining your day because you held on to that energy.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
And allowed it to impact. Hey, Rachel.
Thanks for joining us, Rachel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. Boundaries are super important. Absolutely.
Yeah,
we were talking about that on the weekend, weren't we, Jen?
Yeah, we were. Yeah, we were. And it's so true, right? And we can have difficult situations in our lives, and we can keep difficult people in our lives. Like there's a lot of times where I talk with clients and stuff, and they go, this person really hurt me, but I'm not ready to cut them out of my life. I don't want to do that. So it's like, okay, how do we work to help it so that when they do what they're going to do, you're okay.
Yeah.
Right? And as we build within ourselves that resilience and that strength and that, again, the energy that we're in right now with the transit, that ability to take authority and say, enough. No, I'm putting up my sword in love. This boundary for sure.
Boundary right here.
Saying,
do not cross. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think that it's such a beautiful, powerful thing, but it can be done in love. Right? And that's what makes it even more powerful.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Very true. Very true.
She agrees. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we see boundaries. I know some of my clients see boundaries like as a bad thing. If they put a boundary, it's like it's like sorry.
Yeah.
Apparently you've driven with Rachel.
Yeah.
If we put a boundary, sometimes it means like, that we don't love them enough to keep them closer than the boundary sort of thing, right? But it's really not. It's because you do love them that you're putting up the boundary.
Yeah.
You're putting up the boundary because you want to keep them, but you need to keep them there, which is kind of what you were saying. I think it was Rachel that was saying that, right? So
Yes.
you can put up the boundary, like you were saying, Jen, to be able to make sure that you're okay in the
Mhm.
situation.
Yeah. And the thing is, people don't like boundaries, especially when they haven't been there before. Brand new
Exactly.
boundaries? What? People are going to butt up against them and push them and fight them. And that's, especially when you think about it, the people that we have to really set firm boundaries for, there's a reason why we have to set firm boundaries for them,
It is
right?
true.
So
And they
we
don't
have
like it.
no. So we have to also go into that with a deeper understanding of the fact that it's not going to necessarily be easy. If it were easy to set those boundaries, we wouldn't necessarily have to set them.
Exactly. Yeah. What crystal should we wear next Monday? Okay.
Oh, this is a Tanis question for sure.
Yeah. Well, we're going to be like, there's going to be a lot of energy. So it's going to be like anxiety. It's going to be, so I'm thinking we need something like lepidolite and black tourmaline. It's also about transitions, though. So you could go with something like a selenite because that helps to ease and release some of the denser stuff and transmute it into positive. So I think any of those, or an amethyst, is calming as well. Yeah,
What about
any
a
of those.
moonstone?
Yeah, for sure. Moonstone would
Mm-hmm.
be great because you're looking at, evening out the moons, but it is a solar eclipse. The
I
moon is in
know.
the way, though.
But what's interesting is the
So,
moon is there and it's blocking the sun. But also, when we look at the energy of this eclipse, it's the inside coming out, right? Our internal
mhm,
moving external. And when we think about moonstones and intuition and all of that kind of stuff, we have to be really aware of what
yeah,
energies are coming out, right? So that we don't get caught in here, but that we
yeah,
can stay with our intuition and we can stay with our truth.
yeah, yeah. So the new moon, yeah, I would say the moonstone for the new moon.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That
Yeah.
would be that's a good one for new moon. Mark agrees tourmaline, yeah, because
Mm-hmm.
that'll help to definitely keep us grounded during all of that,
Yeah.
for sure. I would actually, I think, all right, I think that might be our crystal of the week, actually, moonstone, because I think it's, I'm hearing that we should be working with it all week this week in
Okay.
order to be preparing, right? Because we're supposed to be going in this week to figure out what we want to create in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
And so, in order to create, it's great to listen to your intuition and stuff.
Yeah.
So, stay tuned to the crystal of the week, guys. I'll
Yeah.
do moonstone this week so that we can get a little more information on that in those little clips.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that'll help us prepare for the Monday coming up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome.
Awesome. Oh, the other one that would be nice, I'm getting to, is like a septarian. Septarians are great for grounding. Okay. So septarian's good too for those, for all of those, because it's a little bit of chaotic energy. So it's nice to be able to take that chaotic energy and ground
Yeah.
it a little bit. So
Yeah. And for the next at least, few days, is there a stone that can help us release control?
I'm feeling like selenite. That's what I'm getting intuitively.
Mm-hmm.
Can we
You guys are
talk
never
about
going to guess what card just came out.
moonstone? Oh, moon. Gaze at the moon. There we go. All righty.
Not during the eclipse, but between now and the eclipse, because it's for this week, not next week's card.
Exactly. Exactly. Mark, I can try and fit it in, but usually I have to keep those under a minute. So it
Maybe
might
do
be
one for
tricky.
each.
I could do one for each, yes. I know that I've done them before. So you could look back too in some of the other crystal of the weeks, because I know I've done black moonstone and light moonstone in there. So,
Mm-hmm.
but I'll see what I can do. I'll see what I can do.
All right.
Kaylee says, as it happens, here is that.
Yeah. It's so crazy. I mean, we say it all the time. You can't make this stuff up.
No.
But it's just like, even still, I'm dumbfounded sometimes when it happens, even though I know it happens all the time.
Well, that's a beautiful thing, though, that we can still find the beauty in all of this. I mean, that's,
Yeah.
I don't ever want to lose that
No.
kind of,
No.
what's the word I'm looking for?
The wonder and
the awe, the wonderment. Yeah, the wonderment. Yeah, in
Well,
that.
that's the ministry, right? That I did from my poem, Perpetual Wonderment. And it is such a beautiful thing to be in that place of knowing, not knowing.
Yeah.
Right? Just every time it happens, I know it happens, and I know it happens often, but I'm still in complete awe every time it does.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Shall we do the moon?
Yes.
Okay, so
Gaze
for this
at the moon.
week, not next Monday, but between this Monday and next Monday, gaze at the moon. Okay? It says, as we read, lift your eyes up and behold your ancient grandmother. She is the one who hangs in the night sky. She is the mystical embodiment of the sacred feminine. Grandmother Moon, with her changing phases, is the receiver and deeply tied to the sun, the waters of the earth, and your physical body. What is she receiving right now? Like all sacred feminine beings, her receptive nature absorbs sacred masculine energy to create balance. Have you taken the time to wonder what energy you are sending out? Grandmother Moon is also a sacred reflector. Just like a pool of still water, the moon reflects back what she sees, the pure love of the sun, the struggles of the earth, or the miracles of the earth. What are you creating on earth at this time in history? Grandmother Moon will mirror it back to you. Are you proud of your creations? Take a moment to gaze at your grandmother. Send her your gratitude and let her receive that love. What she receives, you too receive. Help Grandmother Moon show you the miracles of your life instead of the struggles. She is your kin. Remember to send well-being to all the children of earth. Your grandmother will reflect it back to them, and they will receive it when they too gaze at the moon.
Beautiful. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So gaze at the moon.
Mm-hmm.
Use your crystals. Go inside this week. Decide what you want to bring in to the world.
And it's such a beautiful energy, right? Because again, we go back to the first one, right? Am I clear on what my soul really wants? This is the energy right now to dive deep into that, because that's going to come through as we move forward, right? So can I really gaze at the moon and have it reflected back what is in the desire of my heart? And can I do that in love and be open? Release my shoulds, release limitation, and with wonder, watch what comes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's going to be a week. A beautiful week.
Mm-hmm.
So, blessings to you, Sonia. Thank you, Pogo Pogo. Katie, that's awesome. Big hello to Shem. Where is that? There we are. And happy birthday.
Oh, happy birthday.
Yeah. And welcome, Fleck. Thank you for joining us.
Okay.
And thank you, Jackie. Thank you for all your help. So, what have we got going on this week? I mean, other than the obvious astronomical. What do I have? Oh, I have an in-person Reiki 2 on the weekend on Saturday.
Ooh, cool.
So if you're in Ottawa and you've got your Reiki 1 and you want to bring that up to level 2,
that'd be great.
We have open mic with Ramsey on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
That's at 7.
I think I'm on with you guys. I don't remember.
I know you're on with us soon.
I think it was supposed to be the 5th. And then I was saying, oh, with the kids. But then we decided, okay, maybe it is. But I don't know. I'll have to reach out to Ramsey and ask him.
We'll take a look. Oh, yes. Enlightenment evening. Thank you. Yeah. So we are having an enlightenment evening that happens to happen next Monday evening. So we're going to sit in that eclipse energy and really feel that, and probably have a bit of a little bit of a ceremony, I would say. We'll be doing some kind of ceremony stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So those of you that are local, that is one of the ones that I do in person. And yeah, it'll be fun. Come and meet some other like-minded people and hang out. It's a lot of fun, those enlightenment evenings.
Yeah.
So
beautiful community.
Absolutely. What have you got going on, Jen?
You know me, I hang out, I do this. I might join you and Ramsey. I might not join you and Ramsey. We'll see. Other than that, that's about it for now.
Well, you're very busy. She does a lot of other stuff. That's what she's doing. She's doing stuff.
When it comes to like lives and stuff, that's
yeah. Yep, for sure.
Oh, yeah. No, that's
Oh.
that's they're telling me shit, but it's not actually stuff, but it's not actually happening yet. So I'm like, it's okay, guys, it's okay. I just want to stick with this week. We'll just do this week. Okay. Sorry.
Absolutely. And we're still working on some great stuff coming out. Mm-hmm. So so stay tuned. No online ceremony. Yeah, it's gonna be tough to fit that in. That's my problem with that. If I were to do an online ceremony, it would have to be in the afternoon, I think. Yeah, I would have to do it like before Twillow Talk if I was going to do that. Maybe we can just do a little bit of something on Twillow Talk next week. Something to honor the eclipse. Mm-hmm. You know, maybe not like a full ceremony, but something to honor the eclipse and that sort of energy. So yeah, so come back next Monday. We'll see you then. And we'll do that online. We'll talk about that and see what we can put together for you guys for next Monday. All right?
Yeah, that'll be lovely.
So have an awesome week, everybody. And we're wishing you tons of love. And there's the hearts.
Where are they?
Hearts. Oh, your hearts aren't working today.
They did earlier today.
Well, we're sending it all anyway.
Well, they're there. They're there.
It doesn't take away from the love we're sending. So
there we go.
Tons of there we are.
There we go. We'll just do it a different way.
Lots of love, you guys, and we'll see you next time. Twillow Talk. Ciao now.